your own voice lead from within. So with me today, I'm with Claudia Passa, Carol Ann Cooper, Shireen Love Groove. How are you, ladies?
Very
Great,
good.
thank
Very well,
you.
thanks.
Yes.
And yourself?
I did not forget you, Shireen, today.
I've just changed it. I am changing it. There we are.
Yeah.
Me, I'm good. I'm good. So let's see what Carol Ann has in store for us. So the topic today is, hold on, is the story we tell how perception shapes our relationship. So every relationship is shaped by more than what is said, done, and experienced. So it is also shaped by the meaning we attach to those moments. Two people can live together. Two people can live through the same conversation, but the same silence, the same disagreement, or same season or of change, and walk away with completely different conclusion. Why? Because relationships are not only built on events, they are built on perception. I like this topic, Carol Ann. Why did you choose it? And what was the motivation behind it?
It spoke to me. I just put I asked my thread in chat to make some suggestions of topics that we could talk about, based on sort of what I've already talked about, so because it knows I've got a whole long thread, and it just came up with, don't need anything new. It's about deepening in what we've already talked about. And so it gave me a few titles, and this one spoke to me immediately. I read it. I thought it's how we react to something is always it's not to do with reality there. More often than not, it's what we've experienced or what we're going through, and we've got these filters. So it's really about exploring that. Even though we believe that we're responding to what's happening in front of us, often than not, it's some story we've created in our head, that we're actually responding to, or rather reacting to. And so it's really about exploring the mood, stress, past experiences, emotional wounds. All of those can impact and create these filters that shape how we interpret our partner's words, their tone, even their behavior. All of these things can shape that, which actually impacts the relationship if we're not careful. It's like it says here, we don't react to reality. We react to our perception of it. And so it's exploring that. I'm not sure if you've ever reacted to something your partner said, only sort of then to realize later, maybe they didn't mean that, or mean it in the way that you took it or heard it. So it's not just about what's said or done, it's the meaning, as I say, we attach to it. So I just felt it'd be good to explore that in different ways, and see how these stories can either connect us or maybe pull us apart, So that's where that came from. As I said, it's just something that spoke to me. I went, oh gosh, yes, that sounds like a really good topic to explore. So yeah, what were your thoughts, Shireen, when you saw it?
Yeah, I always say what we perceive, we often believe, right?
Right.
And often if we don't see it, that's why a lot of faith is really hard for people, because they don't see the evidence, so therefore they can't believe it, and they can't get the embodied sense of belief that goes with it. So that's something that's really important. The interesting thing is we know with VR, right? VR, when you put VR on, it's almost like you're in that reality. We know we can do healing with VR because actually what we see fools the brain. It's the filter through which we look. And so what's really important is to really understand that actually what we often see is not real at all. It's not real at all. And we are actually seeing through the filter of our experiences, of our past, of our conditioning, right? Of our culture, of whatever learning we have, we are always seeing the world through that. And therefore, that means we are more likely to be triggered by somebody doing something that's outside that experience or resonates with that old experience to some degree. And we've built a system up of protection so that we can fight, or we could fight it, or we can run away from it, or whatever it is that we choose, whatever behavior we choose to do in that moment, often unconscious. Right? Often outside our awareness. We've done it already before it has even happened. But the most important thing, I think, when we're thinking about that is, can you imagine how many misperceptions are done on a daily basis? Even the misperception of how we misperceive ourselves, right? Often there are people that really have a problem with weight, right? They see themselves as extraordinarily fat, and they actually may be quite thin. They have this poor relationship in being able to see themselves. So there are so many different ways in which misperception can really affect our life on a daily basis. And so that would then be and our misperception comes in the form of a story. We tell ourselves a narrative, and that narrative runs a script inside us. And then we live according to that script, unless we choose not to, when we choose not to react in the way that we would before. So that was what was coming up for me while you were doing that. But it really, I mean, in my book, I wrote about what we perceive, we believe, and what that does in the sense of beliefs, and the somatics, the feeling body, believes it deeply. And so therefore we act on feeling, not on the thought. So we have to bring more cognitive awareness into it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, as well. And to start this conversation as well and this round, I would like as well once more to put in that we rarely see the situations, what is going on with the people we meet, or the circumstances and events we get into for what they are. Instead, we see them, as it's already been mentioned, through the lens, through the past, and as well the fears we might have inside of us, and the beliefs. And this has already been mentioned here. So basically, this is very important once more to understand, and we already have heard those explanations, but it's always good to bring them up, because even I tend to forget, I get sometimes so caught up into some experience that I'm so in it, and I truly forget that it's actually based on other criteria as well. And the thing is as well, when we hold a specific narrative in regards to such as I am unlovable, or people can't be trusted, or whatever it is, the stories we keep telling ourselves, then what happens as well, the brain goes out and searches for evidence to confirm our beliefs. This is as well how it's been created, that the beliefs we have, and we get them from the parents, the caregivers, the society, the school, other relatives too. So we grow up and we have been given those beliefs. And if we are not aware of them as we grow up, because many of the beliefs are not really serving us any much longer when we grow up. So it's really important to be aware of what it is, what you are believing about all life areas, as well as about yourself, so that you can go out and and be more aware of it, and make an effort as well to change them and to bring more consciousness as well into your beliefs. Nomsa.
I like what you said, Claudia, that sometimes our beliefs can actually, our brains, whatever we believe, our brains can go and look for evidence, even if that evidence does not exist. So that evidence can either save us or it can destroy us. It sounds fun, actually. It sounds exciting that the brain is goo-goo. It sounds really exciting. And I like what Carol Ann said. You said whatever we do or the story that connect us, it can either put us together or it can pull us apart. I think that is really, really important sometimes to use psychology, because I think life is 98% something psychology. So I think it's nice to actually not to make up things. And also, Sharon, you said the story we tell ourselves, whatever we perceive, whatever we believe, sometimes it might create something in us that builds us or it might destroy us. So I think everything is come down. The Carol Anne's topic is really, really important because we spoke about this a few weeks ago, me and Amanda, that I think sometimes you'll find people can have the one event, the same event, but our perceptions, how we see, how we translate the event, it will be different. Some might have some really positivity through that event, but someone might have really, really bad experience. So I think it's just a pond with where your mind is, the mindset and everything. I think, and also whether you have dealt with your wounds and everything. Because I look at it where I am now, the things that I used to take it really, really serious, they used to annoy me. Now they're nothing. When I look at them, I'm like, it's one of those things. But some people, they find they get annoyed, really, really annoyed with them. But for me, it's like, oh, okay. I don't see it as anything. I don't translate it to anything unless if I want to create something from it.
Yeah. And I'd question whether it's 98% psychology, isn't it? Or psychology. Isn't it
Yeah, I think
100%?
everything is psychology, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. And same event perceived differently reminds me of something my sister was talking about, and I can't remember the exact event, that she was saying something and I felt made wrong at the time, the way she was saying it, and as if I was being attacked. And then I sort of thought about it and something came to me and I said, but I don't remember it like that. And I gave my view of it, how I saw it or how I remembered it. And it was like, oh, completely different take on what had happened. So I was then able to come back to her with that and change the whole conversation, and stop me. I was able to then stop me feeling wrong and got at. It was able to temper the whole conversation, and she was able to see that actually that was her perception of it, and I had a different one. So whose was right? I don't know. But the way we see it is how we think that is the truth. And actually, we have many illusions. And I did some work on Friday in both sessions. It showed that the illusion that was there, that just seems so very real, actually wasn't. It was only an illusion. It just felt like and seemed the truth. And one of the illusions just seemed impossible to be, but it was like, well, no, that's what's here. That's what I'm seeing. But then something happened and something just cracked that illusion, just pierced it, broke it open. And it's like, oh, no, that's not true. But it was so strong, and it can hold you in such a tight grip that you will really fight your corner. No, this is true. This is the truth. And that's the trouble. We use those words. This is the truth, which, implies or says there is no other truth. But this is where changing the narrative, just changing even one word and say, well, this is my truth, then actually changes everything. And it means that cannot be argued with. And that took me a long time to realize that. But when I heard that, it's like, oh, this is my truth. Okay. So if I say this is my truth, someone cannot tell me I'm wrong. Whereas if I say, well, this is the truth, then definitely they can question it, and start saying, well, no, you're not right, etc. So again, it's coming down to language and recognizing what is so. And yeah, the story, I like what you were saying, Shireen, about misperception and about the fact, weight. I always thought I was fat when I was growing up because of what was said, oh, I was Tubbs number 2, my mum was Tubbs number 1, and it was just something that was said. Yeah. But I was not. I had a shapely size 14, but I always thought, I wasn't petite or anything like that. But when I look back now, or even quite a few years ago when I had a lot of weight on, and I look back and thought, my God, I was not fat. There was no way I was fat. This is fat. No, this is fatter. But I was, I always believed I was fat. So again, it is a misperception, but it comes through, as you say, your childhood experiences, what's said to you, and you just put that filter over yourself. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says until you can actually break that illusion, crack it open and see the truth of it. Will you actually know the truth of that illusion and that misperception that you've put on yourself? So it is important to really question yourself, and not from a point of view of saying, well, I'm wrong, but just sort of, well, is this actually true, and compared to what is a great question, I think. And maybe if I'd been able to ask that question then, I don't know, maybe I might have seen myself through a different filter, felt different about myself. Who knows? But it is that those emotional filters, those, as Claudia was saying, childhood experiences that color our misperception, shape our misperception. And, previous relationships, even current stress levels can shut us down to the truth and create these emotional filters that sort of block reality. But then I question, well, what is reality? In the light of this conversation, what actually is reality?
It depends on which way you're looking at it.
Exactly.
Isn't that? There's nothing that's really real. It's just sensory input into our system, and it's forming a shape, which is according to a script that is there, right? That's how we see it. Yeah, I mean, I loved what you said. I mean, you might have seen me laughing a minute ago when I started laughing. It was because my partner had said to me earlier that I went downstairs to quickly get a coffee before coming here. And he was busy vacuuming away. And then he said, "What do you call this?" Now, in my normal reactive state, I would have said, "What are you going on about?" No, I said, "Oh, that's a melee." totally bypassed his criticism of telling me you haven't done any vacuuming. And for once, I thought, only when I was up here, I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't even react to that. That was wonderful. So I was busy laughing at it. So that was how an old pattern could have really caused me to be really unhappy coming here anyway. But so that was an old story that was there. But what I wanted to, that validation, Claudia, which is really important, and I think it's important to bring it up again, is, you know, when you say the brain seeks validation, and what we validate, we then believe. It's like the cycle that goes round and round. But often what we don't look at when we are seeking validation is what is our part in the story. So we're looking for evidence that's outside us, but we don't see how we're interacting with the evidence. That then means that we keep supporting that belief, right? So if we believe, for example, that all men are bastards, which is not true, absolutely not true, but if you've had bad experiences, then you might behave badly in such a way that you actually really push them to the limit, right? And then you go, he's done that, so therefore they're bad, right? And so we validated it, and we don't see that our behavior may be contributing a lot to what's going on. So I think when we look at our truth, which is what Carol Ann says, what's my truth, is really recognizing this is the way I'm perceiving it, but is it the whole truth? How am I behaving within this truth? And I think that's a really key question. If you want to find out some really interesting information about perception, there's a psychologist, Elizabeth Loftus, who used to talk about eyewitness testimony. And what she did was she looked at how people worded things, like the car was going fast, the car was going at a raging speed, and all of a sudden, when people put a score on it, depending on how they said the words, even if it was the same speed, the perception of each person would either raise or lower the expectation of the jury of what that speed was. And so the penalties would be either higher or lower. Also, if you had people coming in for eyewitness testimony, 3 people may, depending on where they are standing, they will see totally different things, but they're all seeing the same event. And they're also seeing the same event through their own internal filter. So again, you've got a whole lot of problems happening there. So it's really interesting when you look at the idea of how our perception is so heavily influenced by our own beliefs, our own story, and heavily influenced by the outside perspective of where we're actually standing. You know, what assumptions we make about that. So, you know, when we're in a relationship, we really need to understand, be very clear about what is our feeling when we have an experience, because I wrote something here. The truth is always how you experience it. If it's a truth for you, that's how you experience it. And it doesn't matter what someone else says, unless you can open up that experience, you can't change that truth. So we've got to go, yeah, I feel this, I experience this, I know this. However, this may not always be the truth. Is this really the full truth? I may only have one part of the truth. So we need to look at that in all relationships. How do we make sure that whatever we experience with someone, is this the full truth, or is this just my truth that I'm running in the process? So that was something that really came to me while you were talking, Claudia. So I wanted to just really bring that in because it's a very important point.
Well, obviously, it is always, it is always our truth, because the thing is as well, this is an inside-out world. It's not outside in, it's inside out. So the thing is as well, whatever, again, obviously we had the beliefs and so on, but the thing is as well how we feel and what we perceive about ourselves, about the world, the fears and everything. The world outside will always come and reflect this back as a mirror to us. So this is what I mean by inside out world. So basically, if we are aware of this, basically as well, what I do those days, I find myself in the situations and events, people as well, who come toward me as well, and the way they behave, it's actually an indicator how I'm being toward myself in one or another area in my life. So this is how I go out at this stage and evaluate or reflect on everything I'm experiencing. And then as well, Carol Ann, in regards to the story that you shared, how you felt about you and about your body as well in the past, this is as well another thing it's the self-image. So basically, how are we feeling about ourselves and what are we thinking others are perceiving as well about us, the way we are and so on. So that's another thing. How are you and your self-image? How are you standing about yourself and the way you feel about your body and the way you look and so on? So this is something else as well to be aware of. Yeah, so what's your thought about self-image, Nomsa?
I think like what you're saying, Claudia, that for me, self-image, I believe that I was created by God to embrace who I am, to embrace my becoming, to embrace what I have, what God has given me to me is a gift. If I can't embrace it, who will embrace it for me? So it's really, really important. I used to focus on this, on the self-image, like thinking that I wasn't good enough and things like that. But now I'm realizing that actually what's in my head will reflect what my outer world, what's in my head, because it's my inner world, my soul, what's in my soul will reflect on my outer world. So what's in my soul is joy. Nothing else is embracing my becoming and unapologetic embracing me being Nomsa. So I think that's important. But before, my mind used to go somewhere else. I think things that waste my time. So now I'm spending my time not thinking about my image because I know there's nothing wrong with my image. So I'm spending time thinking about other things that I can create because God has already created me. So, and also I like when Caroline said it's important to question whatever you are thinking, whatever, just to, sometimes we want to validate, you said this, we want to validate things like that about what we feel. Was it you or was it Shireen? I think it's really, really important when it comes to like the stories that we automatically tell ourselves. Everyone has eternal story running in their background. So these stories are often fast, emotional, and deeply rooted inside of us. So they are shaped by our past experiences. They are shaped by our insecurities, disappointment, hopes, and fears. But for me, I'm looking at life now that the disappointments that I've had in the past, maybe those things I was never meant to have, but I wanted them by force. Maybe God did not want them for me. And the disappointment, the rejection, I'm seeing it as when someone rejects someone, it's something that reflects in their own inner world. And like Carol Ann, you always say, whatever you do, never, when you make decisions or whatever you do in life, never make you wrong. make a decision because you want to make a decision, or evaluate things because you feel that you have to evaluate things. Whatever the story you tell yourself, don't make you wrong. So I always put that in my head, and I'm always like, don't make other people wrong, things like that, because people may see their story how they see it. Something happened in the week. We have a group, and people were looking into the story in their own perception, how they see it. But then me, when I'm looking at the story, I'm trying to find
She's in the middle of a story and she froze.
She's looking for it.
She's gone into Brain Spot to find that story.
Oh, bless. Absolutely. She'll come back in a moment.
In a moment.
Yes.
Yeah. I always say, is my
you'd frozen.
You got frozen.
Yeah.
But you're back.
Come, you go.
I always say to people, when you don't understand something, never assume, never blame, never do anything but ask questions. Or come forward if you are not happy with something. Come forward and express your feelings. So I think it's important. Most in relationship, you may find that the things that people fight about, it's not really worth it. It's the things that they can express as friends that can help them to build a relationship, just like normal talking, you see. But you see, I can't talk to Carol Ann because I don't like confrontation. And when I don't like confrontation, it creates something else. So just talk to Carol Ann if you want to talk to Carol Ann. Talk to Sharon if you want to talk to Sharon. If you are a man, just talk to a woman. You are a woman, talk to your man. That's how it is.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never assume. I like that. Yeah. And that's I think that's seriously what we tend to do, though, isn't it? We make these assumptions that come through from these filters. And it would be good to just stop and ask, check, is this fact or is this interpretation in the moment? But it's some of those sort of common filters that we have. There's a few of them, there's that rejection filter that says, I'm not important. And just feel that one. It's like, I'm not important. So as Shireen was saying, in what ways do you push the relationship to prove that point? I'm not important. You look for the evidence. As Claudia says, the brain looks for the evidence. But yeah, Shireen's right. You can very often not just look for the evidence, but you make it happen. You have to you have to prove yourself right. And then there's the abandonment filter where it says they'll leave me. And that was something that I was constantly looking for with my ex-husband. I always had that belief that he was going to leave me. I don't know where that abandonment filters came from. I haven't really cleared that one or the root of that, because it's not come up again, but it was very much with him. I was constantly looking every year, he's going to leave me, and constantly looking for proof of it. And in the end, we ended up, he left, or we parted. But so again, where does it come from? They have some root, and maybe sometimes it's not this lifetime. And that's sometimes where we need to go even deeper into, maybe it's something ancestral that's come through, or it is another lifetime. And again, it depends where you stand on these beliefs, but there is something there, because very often when I've gone down either track and cleared it, found the root, things have changed in the present in an amazing way. So get present to what's the narrative that's going on in your head. Criticism, I'm being judged. So you can imagine how that's going to play out if you constantly think, I'm being judged. Someone makes a comment. So like Shireen, you said you were able to catch that filter.
Maybe I was in such a good mood,
Yeah.
you know. I went downstairs and I thought, and there was no trigger. That was the
No.
interesting. There was no
Yes.
trigger.
Yeah.
And I think often there would be a trigger. So I've been doing a lot of inner work anyway, but that was really interesting, just noticing, oh, no trigger.
Yeah.
And even when I realized what it was, I didn't even feel guilty. So that was interesting too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a whole lot of shifting. As you say, it changes in the moment, which is really important.
It's beautiful. And there's two other filters. There's the control one, and the narrative there is they're trying to control me. And another one is not enough. I'm failing in this relationship. So again, there's the language, and you're putting it on yourself. I'm failing in this relationship. Well, is that true, or is the relationship? There's something in the relationship that's failing. It's the relationship. So again, it's looking at the language. What are you saying to yourself? Because then you can start saying, well, is this true? Is this really true? And where does this come from? You know? So yeah, that sort of all those filters tend to distort the communication that's being said. Said to you know, just a comment that's made. So just like Shireen's husband made that comment, you go either way with it. You know? Yeah. So it's magic. So your reaction makes sense, even if it's not fully about the present. Your reaction makes sense, but it's actually identifying what makes it make sense.
And just that word in itself, sense, it's a physical thing. It's not a mental thing, even though we try and make sense with our brain. It isn't. If any healing takes place, it actually takes place within the body. So that's the key. We need that trigger. We need that resonance to move out so that there's a space for other things to happen. And now I've forgotten what I was going to say. But it was something related to what you had said, Carol, and I need you to repeat what you said.
Oh gosh, what was it I said? Which bit? But if you were to remember, if it was to come back,
I'll remember it in a little bit. But I think, I think
if the reaction you were talking about, the reaction makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the sense. What I wanted to also say is that we don't realize that the moment we react, in that moment is the greatest gift we have. It's the blessing, because that is when we access all those subcortical feelings that that our brain doesn't have access to. Right. So, I mean, I'm doing some work with EMDR or brain spotting, any of those kinds of things, where people gaze, and as they gaze, you pay attention to the gaze. If someone holds their gaze in one place, very often what will happen is they will just go down a track somewhere. The gaze takes us to that direct route in the same way that a reaction takes us to that direct route, because in that reaction, we start to see images and feelings and thoughts and all sorts of things. And those are just portals to healing, right? So whatever's happening, even if it's happened, pay attention to that feeling, pay attention to that action, pay attention to what was going on in your body. And that's the point, that you can just allow it to begin to give you information that's different. And by just giving it that space and not running away from it, not hiding from it, not judging it in any way, you will get the gems that you need. And it's really crazy, because you'll probably get a voice talking to you, or you'll get a sound coming through, or you'll get a feeling coming through. You may even just see a total shift in your body's energy just in doing that, because it is that direct route to those very deep memories that we've been programmed with, right? And we've, as you said, Carol Ann, it could be ancestral. Well, we've had DNA from, we're carrying the DNA right from the very first the very first human being. We're carrying DNA from before that, but we're carrying this DNA that's got these type of memories and cognitive information. So therefore, it makes sense that when we experience something very, very deeply, and it feels like it doesn't belong to us, but we're carrying it, we have that moment to say, ah, this is outside my time. Right? I've got through, our ancestry got through time because I'm here.
Yeah.
And so we have another portal, another access to then be able to do something different. So I think really see even a reaction, even if it's been bad, as a gift. It's where the healing is going to happen. We don't heal from good things. We heal from bad things, actually, because we have to go towards it in order to find out so that we can resolve it and create a new resonance. So that's the bit that I was wanting to talk about. It came back, and thank you, Nomsa, for talking about sense, making sense of things, because it took me back. So well done.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is as well that everything that is coming up, it is actually good because it wants to be healed. It wants to be looked at. It is there for a reason. And the thing is as well that, yeah, if we can, it would be good to go back to the very origin of this memory of when it was created, because the reflection afterwards are like, how do you say, it's the ripple effect, but what was the very first initial stone throw when we are at a lake at the water and we do this stone throw, and then we have the ripple effect. So when we don't change it, don't change it, it will always come back until we are changing it. So that is actually good that the things do show up. It's just there to show you something where you are at currently. And when we are younger, we are like so pure and so innocent, but then obviously life starts to happen, people interact with us and they say something. Sometimes even they don't really mean it, but they say something because of how they are feeling at this particular situation and moment, but we make it mean something about us. This is as well how our pure and innocent minds work when we are younger. So the parent, the teacher could say something and we make it mean something about us, that we are not good enough or not clever enough, not smart enough in everything. So it's just like, and then if we don't work with this belief and change it around, we will grow up and experience situations and people as well coming into our life who are going to show us this belief. So that's the thing what I wanted to say, that we make everything means something about us, but it's not the highest truth. It's just like we don't understand at a very young age how life works. The brain is still like not fully developed. It can't filter out. So we just like take everything in. And as well from the collective, that's another thing. It's not just the close people in our lives, it is as well the collective, you know, so just like be as well a bit aware and conscious. What did you pick up and took on from the collective consciousness as well? This is another area where we get influenced and we, just like leave certain moments and situations or whatever we hear and we take things on. So it would be actually good, you know, if we are so aware that we can reflect and decide, you know, what we are going to take on from someone and what we prefer not to take on. So, but obviously it's a process, it's about the journey, it's just like training the muscle here. That's the thing I wanted to say. And then as well, there are these reflections outside of us, you know, like, and not always people, it could be as well situations that are going to be showing us something. For example, when you feel stuck in the traffic, you know, this can show you as well something. Where do you feel stuck? In which area in your life you feel stuck currently? So we can go as far as even the situation's going to show you where you feel like you are delayed or feeling stuck. So what is the situation showing you? How are you feeling in this particular situation, the feeling? And then ask yourself, where do you feel this way in family, in finance, in your career, in your soul pull, in your health? You know, like so many areas we have. And yeah, just like something to throw in the reflections about the situations as well, because they are going to show you if you are, yeah, like that aware. If you want to go down that route, they will show you as well something about you and your life. Yeah.
That, Claudia, I like how you say how our mind can write stories, and is important to acknowledge every feeling that comes to our mind, not to ignore it, not to make it wrong. I think that is really, really important. And Carol Ann, you said always heal the belief that you said you had the belief that your husband was going to leave you, but he did. But for me, I don't think it's the belief. I'm realizing now, I don't think it's the belief. I think your spirit knew the truth. I think you could see the truth. You knew the truth that you and your husband, one day you will be parted, but not because of your insecurity. I think it's because sometimes as a human being, we are gifted. We can feel the truth, but because sometimes when you don't know how to deal with what you see, what your soul sees, what your spirit sees, we end up translating it as insecurities. But when that happens, you are like, but I just knew. Sometimes it is just like, because God lives within us. So maybe that was, you were being shown that your relationship is not in a good place. There were things that you needed to confront, but because of fear, it became insecurity, was translated as insecurity. Because I'm on Pastor Henry's group, I've seen sometimes someone would just come and say something in their mouth, and I've realized I don't take it very, very, very slightly. When someone comes from nowhere, they give advice, I don't take it very slightly. I take that and say to everyone, can we do this? Whoever has suggested this, can you guys do it? And I find whenever we do it, we end up confronting the things that would have happened, but we deal with those things. So then the other day I was like, you mean the thoughts that we have sometimes they're reality and we ignore them because we don't know? So I was like, okay, so I'm never going to take anybody for granted anymore. It's like, Shireen, you know, like we're here, Shireen may come up and say something, or she might say something about Carol Anu or say something about me. Have you ever tried to do this? To me, it's how I'm going to translate that. It might be actually God is speaking to Shireen and asking Shireen to give me that advice. But if I'm not at work, if I'm not in the present moment, I can easily translate it as, who does she think she is? Oh, she doesn't make sense. Or why would she say that those kind of things? But actually, Shireen, she might be being used by God to actually give me a message to say there are some hidden problems, Nomsa, that you need to deal with. Do this. So I've started realizing since I'm cleansing that every word that is spoken out loud, there is a reason. Every thought that comes to your mind, there's a reason. Never translate it as negative, never translate it as like positive, but just deal with it out loud and say, if this thought is there to harm me, just cancel it and take it away. But if it's here to show you something, let there be a revelation about whatever this thought is showing you. I've learned this. It's like, no, I'm not taking these things for granted. But it's how sometimes people translate, mostly in relationship. You have two people that have lived in the two worlds. Different upbringing, different this. So that it needs to come together as one. Understanding, I think, Shirini, you mentioned that before, that you had to understand your spouse, what he needs, how he was raised, and he had to understand you. And both of you together, you created this world that you wanted by erasing everything that you knew, the assumptions, the whatever, the negativity, but you created that thing and it helps. Over to you, ladies.
Yeah, I love what you said. Oh, hang on. I froze there a moment. I don't know if you can hear me, but actually,
Yeah.
I love what you were saying then, Nomsa, because my soul knew the truth. And you're right. It was, I knew there was I have to get to 25 years. I have to get to 25 years. I knew there was a knowing that we were going to part, and I interpreted it that he would leave me. So maybe there is no abandonment issue there for me to look at. Maybe that's why that has never come up. But there was that knowing that we were only going to be together so long, because he wasn't part of the rest of my journey. He was only part of that part of my
journey. Your destiny the way it was meant to be.
Sorry, say that again.
Or you could have changed your destiny the way it was meant to be.
What do you mean?
Because sometimes God shows us problems because he wants us to do it and to keep walking the way we are meant to walk. But when we don't deal with them, we part.
Yeah, because at the time I didn't have the tools or that knowledge to be able to do that. And you have to, you know, and I have often thought, why didn't I know all of this then? We could have stayed together. If I'd known this, we could have talked through blah, blah, blah. But that's the make wrong. It's knowing that you have the tools to get through any situation. And I believe, because actually at the end of the day, both of us separately had healing prayers over our marriage to actually part the way. So I always go back to that. It wasn't just we decided, we actually had healing prayers over that situation. And we actually ended up talking in a way like we'd never talked before. And it just felt, this is right. You know, this has come to where it's meant to be, as uncomfortable as it was and emotionally hard, but it just felt inside, this is, you know, what's meant to happen. And I have often got the message, well, I don't think I would have learned or had the experiences I've had if we were still together. They would have been different. So it would have been a different route. I am where I am, and I've had to learn to let go of making that wrong and going, well, why didn't I know that then? We could have stayed together, you know, but it's like, we clearly weren't meant to. And I think that's part of that learning now, that recognition. And through what you've just said, Nomsa, I can now stand in that learning that there was, my soul knew, but I was in fear that I wouldn't be able to cope if it happened. It's like, no. I was resisting it, you know, like mad, like crazy. So in effect, I was bringing it to me in some ways, but hey, you know, hindsight is always great. And, you know, as Claudia was saying, I love that, you know, about metaphors. What is showing up? Dance with what presents, you know, and what are you saying about the situation? Where else in your life are you saying the same thing? That, you know, is that is where I do the basis of the work when I work with people, because it's there in your face. You listen to the words, you know, how they're perceiving it. It's beautiful. So yeah, thank you for that reminder of those metaphors. So, and there's just one other thing I want to share is that, because I really experienced it when I was in hospital, and I realized the brain fills in a gap really quickly. If you don't understand what's happening, or you can't see what's happening, you hear a noise, your brain
Oh, you're gone.
It's just like
your sound disappeared.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it makes up the scenario for you, and you really believe it. And it was like, one particular thing was, I honestly believed it was a helicopter station when I was in ICU. There were helicopters coming, because that's what I thought I heard. There was this sound, and I was saying, it's helicopters. I said, you know, helicopters coming. And my daughter used to say I was talking about helicopters, but there were no helicopters. And it took me quite a long while to realize that, and to actually be able to talk about it. And then I actually went back to ICU to have a look, and to see, to be able to then let that go, because it haunted me, because it was so real, you know. And when I was, you know, still in ICU, and those helicopter, those sounds went, I honestly believed they moved me somewhere else. But I kept looking, going, but the room is still the same. And Ruby, who was the other patient in my room, she's still there, so they can't have done. And I couldn't make sense of it. So just be aware, the brain fills in gaps very quickly. If you know, you haven't got all the pieces of the puzzle of what's happening. So again, it comes down, you know, is this truth or not? Yeah.
I can see time's running now. So
yes,
I think, yes, Caroline, that is such an important point to put in, that the brain fills in the gap. We can see with images, pictures, we fill in, you know, we can draw your triangles, and you'll find that other triangles will form in between, because we try and fill in the gaps. That's part of neuroplasticity. The same way, if we lose a limb, other parts of the cells, other neurons will come and grow into those areas, because it doesn't like a gap. It will use the other functions if it can. So this is how the brain works. And, you know, coming back to the perception, which is that we will fill in the misperceptions, right? So we'll try and if it doesn't make sense, we will try and make sense of it in some way, and we'll find our old story to come and make sense of that. That's why if we want to replace something, we have to put something else in its place, right? So like when you tell a thought to go, you need to put a better thought back in here, so that you're able to write that off the neural network. So that's the really important thing, I think. What you see, you believe. So if you want to change the belief, you need to have to find another way of seeing things, so that as you said, the brain will fill in that gap. It'll fill in with the right things rather than the wrong things. So I loved when Nomsa said, maybe your soul knew something. It's a lovely reframe, right?
Yeah.
It's a lovely reframe. And yes, it could be true, or it may not be true, depending on how you think of it. But if we think that, it takes a lot of weight off and the guilt off, if we know that that's what our soul wanted and felt for us in our journey anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it's not completely true. So I think the whole message is here is we live our truth. We create the truth for ourselves, and we can change that truth in an ongoing way. We just always have to be conscious of what's going on, so that we can change misperceptions, so that we
Exactly.
can have our carry our own truth.
Exactly. Beautiful. And once more as well with my words, I mean, we have the power to change and to rewrite the script, because all the stories and the narratives are not always fixed facts. It's just something we make up, but they can be changed. So that's the beauty of it. And when we become aware of the stories we tell ourselves in regards to my partner is not being nice, he's abandoning me, I feel overwhelmed, whatever it is, by becoming aware of the stories, we can challenge and change them as well. And we already today, each of us brought in as well a few things, how to, like to work with them as well and to be able as well to change them. So basically, in summary, when we change the story we tell ourselves, we can change our perception, and then which in turn actually as well transforms the relationships we have with people in our life. So just like 3 different aspects, and hopefully one of us, it relates to you as well. Nomsa, and once more you.
For me, my words of encouragement, guys, I leave you with this: practice asking questions instead of accusing. Why, when your mind has questions, whether you ignore them or you accuse, your mind needs answers. So you can be honest how you're feeling. Don't make yourself wrong. Or if the other person is watching, the person that asks questions, don't make them wrong. Just listen to what they have to say. And when you listen to someone, when you say, okay, your feelings are valid, and I'm going to listen what you have to say, it actually frees someone's soul, because it makes them happy that they've asked questions. For me, I corrected my siblings because they were like, oh, you're a favorite with our parents. I was like, no, I'm not. I was never the favorite. And I had to explain is because I ask questions. I used to sit down with my mom and just ask and say, why do you do what you do? Why did you marry him? Why did you do this? So they will spend time, my parents, like asking questions. And I find that it gave me freedom. I don't have any, I don't see, the imperfection about my family, I embrace that. The imperfection about the person that you date, when you have questions, ask questions. Never ever go on Google and start your mind using to Google, making assumptions or creating stories, because that makes things worse. Ask questions. I think that is really, really important. And also embrace your becoming. That's my favorite word now, my becoming. Just embrace it. Even if it's not perfect, it's okay. Just embrace it. Guys, if you're watching from any part of social media, please do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And we have 2 groups on Facebook. Please do join the groups and Nkosi Talk Shows and Unique Billionaire Mindset. Be part of the family and follow these girls on their social media as well. They are using their names. Yeah, that's what they are using. Please do follow them on social media. And also go to the website. If you need coaching, please go to the website to sign up. Or if you're looking for love, do go to the website to sign up. And see you on the other side, guys. May God bless you and live with grace. I will see you tomorrow. These guys, I will see you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. My mouse is stuck, guys. Hold on. We're still live.
I see so.
Okay.
We're off now.
No, we're still live.
Still live?
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Where's that?
because this thing does not allow me to get out on Zoom.
Then you'll just have to cancel the Zoom, close the Zoom, and everything will shut down.
Oh yeah, now I got it.